Know these details before you wager this week across the NFL. Vikings and Seahawks coming up in Seattle. Seahawks favored by 8.5. Sam Darnold led the Vikings to a 14-3 overall record last season. Threw all over the field to Justin Jefferson. This year, he's leading the Seahawks offense, showcasing the league's top receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba. Seattle hosts Minnesota here, a Vikings team which is hardly recognizable from that successful 2024 season. J.J. McCarthy is in concussion protocol, so you've got Max Brosmer stepping in, and there's info circulating out there that, well, social media, take this for that Minnesota head coach Kevin O'Connell wasn't fond of the idea of bringing J.J. McCarthy back as the starter when he got back healthy from his concussion that he sustained earlier this season, because that was when he had Carson Wentz playing, but then Wentz got hurt. So now McCarthy's back in the lineup. So that has me thinking, well, what happens if Brosmer plays okay? Are they just going to leave him in there? That's an interesting storyline. Colts and Texans in Indianapolis. Colts are 8-3. You've got the Texans who are 6-5. Daniel Jones threw for a season low 5.8 yards per pass attempt against the Kansas City Chiefs last Sunday. And they, for whatever reason, oddly abandoned the run and Jonathan Taylor. They need to pound the rock this week, but that would be going against the NFL's best defense. The Texans will bring the pass rush heat at Daniel Jones. Jonathan Taylor needs to be back in form here, because it's unlikely Daniel Jones fares well against this Texans defense. Only Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, and Bo Nix have thrown for multiple touchdowns against that Texans defense. Steelers are hosting the Bills. Bills 7-4, Steelers 6-5. Bills are favored by 4.5 on the road here. The Bills face their second straight road game on just 10 days rest here. And, right now it feels like, just barring a terrible injury in New England, that the Bills are going to be hitting the road on the playoffs. Only one AFC East opponent remains on the road for the Bills, and it's, the New England Patriots, who just beat Buffalo earlier this year. I say just beat, it was back in week 5. And you've got a bye week coming up when they will then face, they don't have a bye week. They have Cincinnati, and then they will face this New England team on the road. So Buffalo here against the Steelers, they need this. And they've been very back and forth. I'm surprised that we already kind of know that Buffalo's, they're going to be the visiting team in the playoffs. Still dangerous, very dangerous. Pats, speaking of the Patriots, they're hosting the Giants this week. Giants are 2-10. Patriots are 7.5-point favorites here. This is Monday Night Football. Patriots are on a 9-game winning streak. They have one of the most explosive offenses in the league. The Giants have shown flashes of decent play at times. Again, they're 2-10. They absolutely suck. But you've got the idea that Jackson Dart coming back into the lineup could provide a boost. The Patriots have some injuries up front on the offensive line. That could create an opportunity for the Giants' pass rush, but the Giants' defense, they just fired their defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen. Things haven't been going well. Panthers are hosting the Rams. Rams favored by 9.5 on the road. The Panthers, the big surprise right now in the NFC. It's still hard to believe they've got 6 wins. Massive game here for Carolina. I mean, they played well 2 weeks ago. And then they had a clunker on Monday Night Football. They didn't win a game on Monday Night Football where they forced 3 first-half turnovers. They're a game back in the division. They trail the Bucs. The Bucs now have Baker Mayfield banged up with his shoulder. So now what? Now they've got to take down the NFC contending and Super Bowl contenders in the Los Angeles Rams. Broncos hitting the road. They're 9-2. They're taking on the Washington Commanders this week. They're favored on the road. A lot of road favorites. Favored on the road by 6.5 here. Broncos own a 2-game lead in the AFC West. But they have to play at Kansas City and against the Chargers in the final 2 weeks of the season. These are games they've got to win on the road. I would pick them to do that. Chargers, Raiders. LA's favored by 10 points. Chargers are a weird team, man. LA got their asses kicked by Jacksonville in Week 11. Now they had a bye week, and they're facing a Raiders team who just fired Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. The Raiders' offense is averaging 15 points per game right now. That is the lowest mark in the league with the Tennessee Titans. We'll get to them in a moment. But when you're tied with the Tennessee Titans for how many points you score, yeah, that's why you get coaches fired. Cardinals and Buccaneers, interesting here because Tampa leads the NFC South, but they lost Baker Mayfield last week due to that shoulder injury. But he has a chance to play in this game. Buccaneers are 6-0 in games when they've been tied or they hold the lead at the half. They are 0-5 in games where they have trailed at halftime. Browns and 49ers. All right. Cleveland, they are playing a couple of home games now. Cleveland's 3-8. You've got the 49ers at 7-4. 49ers on the road, favored by 6. Another road team here. But I'm happy for Cleveland Browns fans. A couple of home games here. Great for the Dog Pound to watch history be made over the next 2 weeks. Here's Myles Garrett. He needs 4.5 sacks to tie the all-time record for most sacks in a single season. And history will happen, not this week, but it'll come next week, because the Browns, they'll be hosting the Tennessee Titans. And Cam Ward, who's been sacked 45 times this year, that's more than any quarterback in the NFL currently. And Myles Garrett he will feast. Shedeur Sanders, he became the first Browns quarterback since 1995 to win his starting debut. And the fans there have been clamoring for him to start. It's going to be a fun couple of weeks for them. I'm not saying they win this week, but they'll get theirs too. Dolphins and Saints. All right, here's how you can double back and cover yourself here if this first wager doesn't work. Make a wager on the Dolphins scoring the first touchdown. So if you're going to do a first touchdown score, make sure it's a Miami Dolphins player that you're betting on. The Saints have scored first in one game this season. That's the fewest in the league. But let's say that New Orleans scores first touchdown. Go bet the Saints money line immediately, because the Dolphins are 0-4 when their opponent scores first. Jets and Falcons. Falcons hit the road. They are favored by 2.5 against an abysmal Jets team. The Falcons ended a 5-game losing streak last week. Benefit of facing the New Orleans Saints. Benefit is I think they can actually get a win streak going here. I look for them to now make it 2 in a row. I'm backing Bijan Robinson and that run game. And here we get to the seller. The Titans and the Jaguars. Jaguars favored by 7. No one cares about them. No one cares about the Titans either. Even fans here aren't even talking about in Nashville potentially having the number 1 overall pick. They're so apathetic with this franchise. There's no suck for luck chance going. They don't even want a player in college. They want to just trade the picks and just get to the dome. The offensive production is headed towards a new bottom floor. They will set a new all-time low because they're on pace for scoring just 17 offensive touchdowns all year. That is 9 fewer touchdowns on offense than what is currently the franchise's worst season in scoring touchdowns. Another way to explain this, the Titans have scored only 3 touchdowns, 3 in the first half all season long. That is a group that has been bad running the football, passing the football, and it hasn't been this bad in both of those categories combined since Vince Young's rookie season, and that's when Kerry Collins started the first 6 games. Take the Jags. Don't be apathetic there. Hammer it. That's another road team that's a favorite. Double the spread. That's one big thing on every NFL game. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to OutKick Hot Mic.
Daily content and more at OutKick Hot Mic on YouTube.